The harshest reality that humanity needs to start facing is that a true immense secret project was carried out with our music. There was a project to increase the frequency of our music. The Roman Catholic Church was the one who started this project, and the Rockefeller Foundation was the one who consolidated it. Music is frequencies that are used to program us. Every day we are receiving these very low vibration frequencies in our minds. If I use certain musical frequencies, I can manipulate your mind. So, if I want you to sleep, I play a certain frequency. If I want you to act aggressively, I play another frequency. These words are not mine, they are from the rapper Extentation. Our brain processes information electrically. Our neurons communicate with each other through electrical impulses. And all this electrical activity in our brain can be measured. And just like an electronic device you have at home, your brain emits these electrical waves. Our brains operate at a certain frequency thanks to the electrical activity that exists inside them. Today, it's already possible to transmit information through sound frequencies. These frequencies carry perceptions, specific information that interacts with certain parts of our brain. Our brain receives these frequencies, decodes these messages, and then starts to act differently. So you can influence a person externally. You can influence people's perception by transmitting a certain frequency directly to that person's brain. Because we are constantly interacting with different stimuli that are presented to us every day. But no stimulus, not even visual stimulus, has more power than auditory stimulus. No stimulus has more power than sound frequencies, than musical frequencies. The harshest reality that humanity needs to start facing is that a huge hidden project was carried out with our music. Nowadays, all music operates at the frequency of 440 Hertz. But it wasn't always like this. There was a project to increase the frequency of our music. This frequency used to be measured at 432 Hertz. And have you noticed how hard it is to find good music these days? There are very few singers and very few songwriters who really dedicate themselves to making real music. But all of this is intentional. And maybe those same musicians don't even know what they're doing. Or maybe they don't have a choice because the industry prevents them from doing things differently. This whole project I'm telling you about is hidden, it's silent, and it's very evil. And its main goal is to control our collective consciousness. But after all, who is responsible for this increase in musical frequency? Well, there are two entities that are directly responsible for increasing the frequency of our music. The Roman Catholic Church was the one who started this project. And the Rockefeller Foundation was the one who consolidated this project. The frequency of our music was changed to prevent us from connecting with deities, with the occult, with the supernatural, to prevent our awakening. Before the 20th century, music in the West was tuned to different standards, with the most common being 432 Hertz. A frequency that, according to ancient scholars, is in harmony with the natural patterns of the universe. It is a vibration that would be aligned with the golden ratio, with human heartbeats, and with celestial movements. So, it's no wonder that many people attribute the tuning of 432 Hertz to a calming, regenerative, and deeply spiritual effect. But all of this started to change in 1939 at a meeting that went unnoticed by many, but would change the fate of modern music. British representatives, under pressure from American interests, proposed the standardization of musical tuning at 440 Hertz. And this proposal was endorsed and spread worldwide in the following years. So, what seemed to be an almost harmless technical issue was actually the turning point of a very dark strategy. Because behind these frequencies is the funding and direct influence of the Rockefeller Foundation. But why? Why would a philanthropic institution that is advanced and focused on knowledge and culture be so interested in manipulating sound frequency? Well, the answer is much more unsettling than you might think because sound shapes the mind. And whoever controls sound controls the human psyche. Studies conducted by scientists associated with the military elite and private foundations at the time indicated that different frequencies produced different emotional reactions. And the frequency of 432 Hertz demonstrated therapeutic and expansive effects. On the other hand, the frequency of 440 Hertz caused mild discomfort, tension, and a subliminal state of alertness in the human brain, which is not consciously perceived. The frequency of 440 Hertz was not chosen for its harmony, but rather for its dissonance. Behind the scenes of this operation, the Rockefeller Foundation collaborated with key figures from the music industry, the American military, and even social engineering laboratories. Among them emerges the name of Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister who is also said to have experimented with the use of frequencies to control crowds. So, although it may seem contradictory, there are indications that parts of the American and European elite maintained a secret network for exchanging knowledge about mind control, propaganda, and neuroacoustics. During World War II, the United States Armed Forces created entire departments dedicated to psychoacoustics. The goal was to study how specific sounds could induce mental states, not just in prisoners but in the masses as well. The Rockefeller Foundation, always with one foot in science and the other in the arts, funded several of these experiments. And shortly after, the entertainment industry completely transformed this. With the advent of radio, television, and later the rise of major record labels, music began to be mass distributed with a new tuning, that of 440 Hertz. And the public, without knowing it, was gradually exposed to an artificial resonance that resonated not with the soul, but with anxiety. Music lost its spiritual roots and became a tool for distraction, emotional addiction, and alienation. But the manipulation didn't stop at just the frequency. The standardization of tuning to 440 Hertz was just the first move in a very well-crafted chess game. The Rockefeller Foundation, with its ability to infiltrate key sectors of science, art, and education, soon became associated with one of the darkest and most influential centers of social engineering in the 20th century. I'm talking about the Tavistock Institute, which was officially established in 1947 but had its roots in psychological studies from the First World War. This place was one of the epicenters of research on mass control, trauma psychology, and behavioral reprogramming. And not by coincidence, it was widely funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. So, while the public believed that Tavistock was an institute of applied psychology to heal war traumas, in reality, they were testing ways to destroy the collective ego, to shape a society that became emotionally unstable and was perfect to be controlled. And for that, then, more than just a simple change in frequency was needed. It was necessary to reprogram the entire culture. So, in the following decades, the Rockefeller Foundation redirected its influence to the cultural industry, especially to youth music. Record labels, universities, radio stations, and festivals began to emerge, all with funding directly or indirectly linked to the foundation. Or with other entities, such as partnerships with the Carnegie Endowment, the Ford Foundation, and even the CIA, which saw in psychedelic rock, dissonant jazz, and violent hip-hop a psycho-emotional goldmine. So entire bands were launched as social experiments. Artists were shaped behind the scenes with carefully orchestrated lyrics, rhythms, and music videos. The Beatles, for example. They spent some time inside these psychological research centers before the media explosion. And there are theories that John Lennon started to rebel precisely after realizing that they were being used as a tool for collective programming. And you know very well what happened to John Lennon. Music then began to encourage self-destructive behaviors, compulsive consumption, spiritual disconnection, aggressiveness, and empty hedonism. All of this was wrapped in sonic genius, but behind the melodies was the signature of Tavistock. So, sounds that create internal dissonance, lyrics that fragment identity, and beats that continuously activate the limbic system. And after all, what does all this have to do with frequency? Because the frequency of 440 Hertz, applied as the tonal base for all modern instruments, creates a field of tension that is mild but persistent. The body, the mind, and the human energy field do not vibrate harmoniously with this frequency, but rather in resistance to it. Over time, this tension turns chronic. The nervous system, constantly exposed to these vibrations, enters a state of subliminal fatigue. So it's like living in a sound world where everything sounds almost right, but never completely. The brain is constantly trying to adjust, but it can't. And the result? Anxiety, distraction, difficulty concentrating, and above all, susceptibility to external suggestions. The music that was supposed to heal started to make us sick, and culture began to adapt to this illness. Meanwhile, other frequencies were being erased from collective consciousness, such as, for example, the frequency of 528 Hertz, which is known as the frequency of love and was relegated to esotericism. The frequency of 432 Hertz, with its potential for spiritual harmonization, was ridiculed as pseudoscience. And so what could heal was silenced. Coincidence? Hard to believe. Well, the Rockefeller Foundation, with its branches in universities, ministries of education, and cultural organizations, promoted a true sound re-education. The tuning at 432 Hertz was removed from conservatories, set aside from academic training, and labeled as unscientific. And a new musical doctrine emerged, that of 440 Hertz, a true erasure of harmonic possibilities. And while this was happening, millions of young people were becoming addicted to sounds that put them in altered states of consciousness. But not elevated states, rather states of dissociation, fragmentation, and collective unconsciousness. And it's exactly within this absurd pattern that we are living today. And this is just one more reason why humanity is going through a wave of confusion, a wave of wars and conflicts, not only external but also internal. There are so many lost people trying to find themselves every day, ending up in clinics looking for stronger and stronger medications to try to silence their screaming minds. And after all, what can we do? What can we try to do to detox ourselves from all of this? Well, to free yourself from vibrational programming, you need to listen to music tuned to 432 Hertz or 528 Hertz. In other words, harmonic sounds that restore emotional balance. So prefer mantras, original classical music, Gregorian chant, nature sounds, and avoid repetitive commercial music. I have a great recommendation for that. Do you remember that friend of mine I always mentioned to you who makes music with the help of mentors and within healing frequencies? That's right. Today, he and I are releasing our first music project together. And it's the song Cosmic Revelation. It's our song for a very powerful message. So watch the music video. The link is down here in the description of this video. And for those who use Spotify, start following Egregora there as well. And listen not only to our song, not just this song, but all of his songs, which are really cool and have very powerful frequencies. And actually, he's also going to stop by here in today's video. He has a message for you in this video.
In the past, music was medicine. It healed, elevated, and set people free. But something changed. The tuning of the world was changed to 440 Hertz. They said it was progress, but it was programming. This new frequency shapes behaviors, conditions thoughts, erases the memory of who you really are. But it won't stay that way. In the noise of chaos and corrupted frequencies, something aligned. I, Egregora, and Carol Kappel, two voices, two minds outside the reach of the system, met among the signals and composed what cannot be silenced. Cosmic Retaliation was composed in 417 Hertz, an ancestral tuning, the frequency of purification, of return, of awakening. This music was not made to entertain, it was made to set you free, encoded in every chord, vibrating beyond the physical, crossing invisible portals until it touches your astral body. The words of Carol Kappel are not just hers. They are an echo from the future, a message for those who can still hear. If something in you vibrates, trembles, or gets emotional, understand this. You are remembering what the system tried to make you forget. Cosmic revelation is not just a track, it's a revelation for you to awaken. Listen now before this frequency goes silent.
Now, tell me in the comments what you think about everything I mentioned, everything I talked about in today's video. Did you already know that the change in musical frequency was a project? A project created by the Rockefeller Foundation itself to reduce our supernatural connections, to diminish and even suppress our awakening. Comment below everything you think about this. Don't forget to check out our music and listen, because it's really cool, and once again, it has a very powerful message, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye.